There are several ways that you have already been taught to solve for sides in a triangle. Maybe seventh, eighth grade, you talk about Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The next, trig functions, in maybe the ninth, 10th grade, your geometry class, you talk about sine, cosine, tangent. And recently we've talked about law of sines. And there is another way, and that other way is the law of cosines. And really finish the law of cosines up there on the end, but law of cosines. And here are your formulas for the law of cosine. It's really just one of them, but I put them in terms of all three sides. So the big thing, like we could just look at this one right here. And when I look at this, I'm saying that the angle C and the side C are opposite of each other. So I've got the cosine of C right here and that side C on the other side of the equal sign. Okay. And then obviously I got my two sides, A and B. So we're going to use this a lot. All right, let's solve for one of these. I'm noticing that X, that side, is across from the 52. So I'm going to say X squared equals 4 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 4 times 7 times the cosine of 52. And I'm just going to punch all that in my calculator, and I would get x squared equals 30.52. And I'm going to take the square root of that and get 5.52. Easy as that. Let's do one more. X is across from the 41. So I'm going to say x squared equals 12 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 12 times 13 times cosine of 41. And I'm going to punch that into my calculator. All this stuff right here. Just going to punch it all in my calculator and get x squared equals 77.53. Take the square root of both sides and get around 8.8. Let's look at this one. This one's a little bit different. Um, we're solving for an angle. So whenever we solve for an angle, no matter what level of math, we're going to be using an inverse of a trig function. So we've got sine inverse, cosine inverse, tangent inverse. On these, we're going to use the law of cosine. So we're going to be using cosine inverse. So let's just write out. I got x is across from the 8. So in this one, I'm going to say 8 squared equals 5 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 5 times 9 times cosine of x. Okay. So, one of the biggest mistakes that people do is they try to just multiply all that, throw all that in your calculator and get that times cosine of x. You can't really do that because this and these aren't like terms. This one has a cosine of x at the end of it. Okay. So we're going to say this is 64 and 25 and 81. That would be 104, I believe. No, 106. And this would be 90 cosine of x. And I'm going to solve this. So I'm going to take the 106 over here. That's negative 42 equals negative 90 cosine of x. So I'm trying to get that cosine of x by itself so that I can make it inverse. So I'm going to divide by negative 90 on both sides. So the cosine of x equals, you could make these both positive if you wanted to. Negative 42 over negative 90. And we're going to undo that. We're going to say x is equal to cosine inverse of 42 over 90. And once I punch that into my calculator, I get about 62 degrees.